Hey everyone, Mark Marshall with theProAudioFiles.com and GuitaristMarkMarshall.com. I want to talk about a session I got hired for this week, and on this particular session I was asked to recreate a very early to mid-70s guitar tone, something in the vein of George Harrison, maybe All Things Must Pass era. So I want to talk about my method and the process to get this to sound. The first key element is guitar and amp. I always start here. I feel like this is the most important relationship in getting any era of sound. For this particular setup, I used a Fender Stratocaster, and George used those quite frequently. And I used a Tweed Champ. Now, these were being used quite a bit around that time. Eric Clapton was using them on Layla, and word is that when Clapton was playing on All Things Must Pass, he had his Champ there, and I know for a fact that George had a collection of Tweed amps. It's hard to say if he used them all throughout his career, but it's amazing when you plug into them and you turn them up how much that George tone is there if you're playing with a slide. I didn't use any guitar effects. I just used a straight into the amp, and I put the amp up pretty hot though. I'd say that the Tweeds go up to 12 usually, and this one I had on 10 on the bridge pickup on the Strat. I was using a glass slide. Let's see, here's the slide I was using, if you could see it. It's like an old medicine bottle. I put some felt in there to make a little bit of tighter grip on my finger, but it's the same slide that like Dwayne Allman used. The slide gives a little bit more of an extra whine on top of the note. The overtones are a little different than they are with metal, and in general I prefer them, but also for this George type tone I really like them a lot. From there, I put two mics on it for the session, as I usually do for clients when I'm doing web sessions. I used a 57 and a ribbon. You can easily capture the sound with one mic. I double tracked it. Now, double tracking is a really important part of this process because he did that a lot, and in fact it is a pretty popular technique in the 1970s. So I double tracked them, and I was careful not to play them exactly the same, because I think of recording a tape at that time period, they didn't spend as much time to make sure that every single slide and vibrato was an exact duplicate. I'm going to talk about signal chain. I'm using the UAD Apollo, but if you don't have one, no sweat, because you can use analog hardware gear if you have it, or you can use plugins from Waves or Slate. For preamps, I'm using the UAD 1073. I sometimes will use the high end just to boost it a little bit. The Tweed Champs have a tendency to be a little dark, which people don't expect, and I have one knob on them, which is the volume knob, and you turn it up. And so often I find that I need to push the front end a little bit. And I will often put a low-cut filter around 60 Hertz. Otherwise, I don't really mess with it too much. I try to get it working from the amp. I do use the tape plug-in. This is the Studer A800. You could also use the Slate's tape plug-in. I don't really hit it too hard. I'm not looking to get the tape to saturate a lot and get a lot of overdrive from it. I'm more trying to get some of the sweetness from it that the 70s recordings had. On these guitar tracks, I did use a little bit of the 1176. I don't over compress on these tracks. I just basically wanted to get a little bit more sustain out of the notes. So I have it set up so that there's plenty of the attack that comes through. I'm not trying to kind of control that so much as I am the sustain of the note and get a little bit more length out of it. So I'm pretty gentle with that. And then it just goes into the Pro Tools, and then I record it as is. Another important component to getting the sound is double-tracked guitars. They were doing this a lot in the 70s. I mean, it's all over that Harrison material, but also a lot of other bands around that era. And when you're double-tracking guitars from this time period, it's important to not try to do an exact duplicate. I think in modern recording techniques, everybody likes to have an exact duplicate. Everybody tries to get every nuance, every bend, every slide, everything, so that it's a dead-on copy. For this era, I think you kind of get in the ballpark, and sometimes the notes aren't exactly the same, or they start and end a little differently from each other. And this will really help get you some of that 70s vibe if you're going for that thing. Let's listen to a little bit of it. I'm going to solo one of these so you can hear what it sounds like alone. And together, when they're double tracked, you get a little bit of chorusing that happens from it. It's really lovely. Check this out.